This a fight I'm super excited for. I'm still excited for this fight. Um, I was excited for this fight almost as much as I was for the Fulton fight. But I'm more so interested in this fight because I want to see how Raymond Ford comes in and perform. Is he gonna bring the fight? Because I can't see him boxing him. I just cannot see him trying to stand toe to toe and boxing him without being frustrated and eventually losing his game plan and that being the end of the fight. Well, we gotta watch this long fight, but mentally he was out of it 5-6. See what I'm saying? Um, I'm torn right now because you know it's saying that their reach is near identical. I don't see that. It's saying that the height is near. I don't see that. Um, and I think that reach is going to be a problem because it was the same thing for Fulton. It was hard to get in because the arms are not only just so long, but with his shots, he's so precise. And he can hurt you. He's already shown that he can hurt you, right? And you know, it doesn't just take power to knock a guy down, right? And with his speed, his length, he can catch Raymond Ford with a shot he doesn't see and put him down. Now can he put him out? We'll see. But he does have all the talent and the potential to be able to put Ford down. You know, um, like I said before, guys now that he's developed his style, they have not been able to deal with his boxing ability. Like he is going in there and he's fainting, he's using that jab, and he's using some lateral movement, and it is getting guys so confused that they're getting thrown off their game plan, and you know they've already lost the battle mentally, you know, just with some of the techniques that he got. And I've been watching you. I've been watching you shot. I've been seeing some of them traps and things like that. So, it's just interesting, a guy more experienced going against a guy, you know, with a lot less experience, but that guy with a lot less experience has, superior work, year round. You know, it's just for me it's just it's not hard to gauge with both of these guys coming in at their best. I think Shock wins, you know, and probably would even stop Raymond Ford at his best. You know what I'm saying? Just from, you know, me feeling like he's been able to put it together, and he's been able to put it together. You know, um, I think this is gonna make for a great fight. Like I keep saying, I'm excited for this fight. I'm excited to see the game plan that, you know, um, like Shock said, they assembled the Avengers. And it'll be interesting to see what all that work did for Raymond Ford to get him prepared for this fight. Because I don't know if it's because he got the money and got comfortable. I don't know if he got the money and you know, you get large sums living in Texas. Like you spoiled at that point. I don't know if it's that. I don't know what it is, but I just don't see that same fire since when you know he fought Nick Ball and slightly before that. I feel like he changed, kind of like I did with the fake baby. You know, Jared Anderson. You know, these guys got the money and got the opportunity and felt like they could parlay, but all this shit ain't promised. Longevity in this shit is not promised. you know um I see Shock, you know like I always say, I see Shock using his veteran status, his experience to win this fight. um and the only thing that I feel different after studying now is that I think it's a great possibility that he could stop Raymond Ford, with just more output. Um, you let Raymond Ford, you know, gas out early. He's got to push the pace because he's the smaller fighter. He has to push the pace, right? But you know, if you're using his aggression against him, um, to set up an attack for the middle rounds, The later rounds, I could see, you know, 10, 11, 12, shot, you know, laying in that wheel. Especially if he's willing to put that foot on the gas, and I know he could put that foot on the gas. Raymond Ford, like I said before, it's just a big question mark for me. It's just, I don't like the height, I don't like the reach, I don't like I said before, how he handled that loss against Nick Ball. I don't, like how he's conducted himself outside the ring. Some of these interviews very unprofessional. You know, some of these events and some of these pop-ups. If that's what you call it. He's not really looking, enthusiastic about the sport of boxing. Something that we see with Crawford in some of these interviews, still, or like a Benavidez. Guys who are not just excited about the sport. They're excited about their future in the sport. And I think, Shock got 4 beat on that right now. I think Shock see where he at right now. Oh shit, it's a possibility for to be able to go up. Alright, let me go ahead and get Buddy out the way. Once I get Buddy out the way, I got way more leverage now. Because then that's Fulton, then that's Ford. Back to back. See what I'm saying? It's just time to get this guy some opportunities. As fans of the sport of boxing, this guy wins this fight, we need to be pushing for a Rookie of the Year award. You know what I'm saying? And I might start my own award system on this channel. But he win this fight, Rookie of the Year, best story of the year. Dealt with what he dealt with. Was an environment that wasn't conducive for him to be a productive citizen in the community. I had to tune that up because I wanted to fix it for him. I didn't want him to think I was talking crazy. You see what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? And going to jail. Having to go through that process, having to see what it's like to have nothing, and folk not answering calls, and you know what I'm saying? That put a fire under your ass. You know what I'm saying? And that fire under his ass with them skills and that goddamn talent. It's gonna be hard for anybody to beat. I wish after this fight they give him an opportunity. I would like to see him and Pitbull Cruz. Shock and Pitbull Cruz would be a fight that I would like to see. I think Shock, with his attributes, I think he could win that fight in a better fashion than he did against Tank. Like I said, athleticism, great footwork, able to stay in the pocket. I would say that he's a better pocket fighter than Lamont Roach. I think he has more attributes, fighting on the inside than Lamont Roach. I think he's faster. As far as Gervonta Davis goes, he doesn't have the same reach. He doesn't got the same height. Tank had power, but it wasn't enough power to get him out of there. So, Shaq not gonna need nothing to, as long as you got something to keep him at bay, keep him off you, you could turn that into a master class. So yeah, like I keep saying, man, I'm excited for this fight, what it does for boxing. Everybody gonna be there. That post fight gonna be crazy. From the inside the ring interview to the outside the ring interview. And like I said before, I'm still locked in. If I was to put some money on something, I would put something on a late stoppage. But I got O'Shaquie Foster unanimous decision, popping shit at the end of the fight and boosting his profile and going up.